Thanks very much for tuning in to Unmissable. I'm Nabila Jamal. Right here on News 9, I take you through news from India and across the globe. Our top focus, of course, India, China, Russia at the SCO summit, forming a new world order. The trio coming together on one platform has really sent a lot of heartburn along the West. What does this mean for the globe? We will take you through with our experts on the panel. And of course, Brahmin's profiteering. That's precisely what Peter Navarro, Trump's trade advisor, has said, sparking huge row within India, accusing him of being casteist with his remark. Though some Indian politicians trying to defend that he's not referring to Brahmins as per Brahmins in India, but there is a sect called Boston Brahmins who are elite in the United States, and that's basically where the word reference is from. Nonetheless, we don't think it's so innocent. We will take you through that controversy. And Mamata Banerjee axes Javed Akhtar's show. She basically cancels Javed Akhtar performing at the Urdu festival because some Muslim hardliners said that they don't want him there because he's not as religious as he should be, that he's spoken against Islam. So Mamata Banerjee decides to drop the axe on him. A lot more on that. Headlines first. 800 people have been killed, 2,500 injured as powerful earthquake flattens homes in remote eastern provinces of Afghanistan. Taliban appeals for urgent international aid. The quake hit just before midnight, affecting buildings from Kabul and Islamabad. India has now sent aid, food, medicine and other aid to Afghanistan with immediate effect. The Supreme Court cites trust deficit between Election Commission and political parties, declines plea to extend Bihar SIR deadline, directs a paralegal aid for voters. Now BJP slams Rahul Gandhi as irresponsible after he vows to drop a hydrogen bomb of revelations on vote rigging, claiming Prime Minister Modi won't be able to show his face. The next vote chori campaign we will now start in Haryana. He says Haryana too had vote chori. We will expose vote chori in Haryana soon. Bombay High Court says Manoj Jarange Patil's Maratha agitation violated many conditions and paralyzed Mumbai. All the main key points in Mumbai has been choco-block. Massive traffic jams. It's left the city in standstill. Anyway, he had just 1 day's permission to fast, but not an indefinite fast to be launched. Asked the Maharashtra government to see what can be done at the earliest. A special hearing on cancelling this protest to be heard by the Bombay High Court tomorrow. 29-year-old Mahanaryaman Scindia, Jyotiraditya Scindia's son, has been elected unopposed as the youngest ever president of Madhya Pradesh Cricket Association. He breaks the record of his own father, Jyotiraditya Scindia, at 35 in 2006 and grandfather Madhav Rao Scindia at 37. Elections were held, we hear, by consensus for the second time in a row after withdrawals of other candidates. Greater Bengaluru Governance Act replaces BBMP with 5 city corporations. Key departments like health, education, revenue and finance to function directly under the new GBA led by the Chief Commissioner. Remember, you no more will have BBMP. The BBMP as a name itself is dissolved. It will now be GBA, Greater Bengaluru Authority. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin inks an MOU with 3 German companies, projects to create over 6,000 jobs in manufacturing, wind energy and heating, ventilation and air conditioning sectors. Stalin also met the senior leaders of BMW Group who expressed cooperation and basically a willingness to expand into Tamil Nadu. A big win for Tamil Nadu right before elections. There's Stalin securing 3,200 crores. Putin defends Ukraine war, blames West for crisis, cites 2014 coup and NATO expansion as roots of the 3.5-year conflict, killing tens of thousands. Climate activist Greta Thunberg sails from Barcelona with aid for Gaza on a flotilla of boats. Thousands rally chanting Free Palestine, calling Gaza war a genocide. Remember, she was forced to step off another ship earlier and accused of taking pictures all for photo optics sake. Now she's back on another ship which is going to Gaza to provide aid. All right, let's start with the big SEO summit that's brought three world leaders together, sending some jitters to the United States. The world just witnessed a glimpse of what the next global order would really look like. And it wasn't scripted in Washington this time. In Tianjin, China, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit opened up with three big leaders, Prime Minister Modi from India, Putin from Russia, and Xi Jinping, of course, the host country, China, came together on that one platform, really stealing the show. And the camaraderie between all the leaders was really quite classic. The walks, the smiles, the handshakes that just didn't end. It seemed like all the three leaders there were so into each other, conversing, in a way showing solidarity. Clearly, this is a nudge after Trump tariffs, knowing very well that one can't rely on the West or should not rely on the West. You had India, China and Russia coming together on that platform in a way suggesting enough is enough, we've got to start a new world order. And that's what this image really looked like, and a message that clearly was sent out. It was an unspoken rebuttal to Donald Trump's tariff war. Trump may have been doubling down tariffs on India, China and sidelining Russia, but from the looks of this, the meeting that we saw at SEO, the way the leaders were speaking with one another, the bonhomie, clearly showed that none of them are willing to bend to submission. In China, the absence of America, in fact, was a headline. Xi Jinping pitched a new SEO bank. Why we would say this could be a new world order is because you have India, Russia, China coming together on one stage, asking for a new SEO bank, an alternative payment system beyond the dollar, billions in aid and loans to bring together so that each of the nations can be supported when there's tough times. Putin even called for a Eurasian security model free of Western dominance. Now, India has been quite clear that India will prioritize India first, Indian citizens first, and they will continue buying Russian oil despite US pressure against it. India has shown clearly where its priorities lie. And that itself is enough defiance here to show very clearly to Trump that India has autonomy and it exercises it. For Modi, it was also about thawing ties with Beijing, agreeing that India and China are partners in growth and not rivals in conflict. So in a way, we saw India deciding that its neighbors, China and Russia, are important at a time like this when United States literally stabbed India at the back. One can say that very comfortably. India now looking at avenues towards its neighboring nations. The most sensible thing to do, and that's what we saw writ large as part of the SCO summit. The symbolism was indeed unmistakable. Global governance at a new crossroad. Just as the SCO meet ended, Donald Trump went on a rant. If I could actually tell you what exactly Donald Trump has said in a latest statement just about an hour ago, Donald Trump has put out this message on his Truth Social platform where he says, blaming India entirely for the 50% tariff, saying it's a one-sided disaster. He says India imposed very high tariffs on US goods, accusing India of buying oil and defense gear from Russia alone and nobody else, and not America, at least not defense gear from America. Trump there whining, saying India imposed such heavy tariffs on us and finally decided to go back on the tariffs on US goods. That's just very little, or rather too little, too late. Basically, while SCO meet was happening and all the three big leaders were together sharing stage, making global headlines, here was Trump literally ranting out on his Truth Social platform, saying that it was India's fault. It was India's fault. Well, the President Donald Trump now is only left grumbling, while it seems like Modi, Putin and Xi have set the stage and the ball rolling for a new world order. Joining me for a little more on this, Dr. Sanjay K. Pandey, Professor, Center for Russian Studies, JNU. We also have Dr. B.R. Deepak, Sinologist and Professor of Chinese Studies, JNU. Thanks very much, both of you, for joining us. In fact, let me start with Dr. Sanjay K. Pandey. Hi. We also have Mithali Nikore, founder and chief economist, Nikore Associates. Thank you. Sir, let me begin with your expertise, Mr. Sanjay K. Pandey. We're looking at Modi, Xi and Putin on that one stage walking shoulder to shoulder, and the visuals were unmistakable. It almost looked like the three leaders were waiting to come on one platform together, and that wish came true, with Xi organizing this SCO summit right in time. The three leaders shaking hands, Modi and Putin going on a car ride together to the SCO meet, having an informal, formal, whatnot. Conversations to the max the two leaders had, Putin and Modi, and Xi and Modi. The kind of red carpet that was laid out for Prime Minister Modi in China itself shows that China are really looking towards India to build relations yet again. And now we hear that there's a new SCO bank that they want to set up. They want to come up with an alternative currency, just like what BRICS is also planning. We're looking at SCO also pushing for an alternative banking system that can counter America and the dollar. So we're looking at a new world order already taking shape.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. You are very right, and pictures say it all. You don't need any words to describe what really happened. The video of Prime Minister Modi holding hands of President Putin and literally leading him to the hall where President Xi meets them, and all the three in a very light mood and joking like very old friends. So that says it all. And then, as you very rightly said, Prime Minister Modi joining President Putin in his car for a 45-minute ride, during which they talk. And after reaching, again, they have one-to-one for about another 45 minutes before the delegations join. And one more thing, in fact, President Putin waited for 10 minutes for Prime Minister Modi to come and join him in the car. So that says it all. The type of these images convey, the message that they convey is there for everyone in the world to see. And Trump's reaction again says it all, where he talks about India-US trade as a disaster.
Yeah.
Before that, a few weeks back, he called India and Russian economy as dead economy. So Trump's frustration is there for the world to see, and SCO meet couldn't have come at a more opportune time when all these three countries, incidentally all of them three major non-Western countries, they all needed a time to show to the world and to show to Trump that they have alternatives, they have their own worldview, they have their own strategy depending on their national interest. And so therefore, this was the right time, and they utilized this time to the hilt to convey the message.
Okay, Dr. B.R. Deepak, your take on New World Order. If you could give us a little reference and context of from the past on India, China, Russia, always been friends. The economies have grown substantially, especially India and China. Russia has been doing well up until the war began. So the three countries should ideally be natural friends because we're all neighbors. Coming together on one platform, what does it mean? Could we really be a counterweight to the West, America especially? How do you think this will shape up in a nutshell?
Yeah, Navella, three quick points. One, of course, the optics have been great, as Professor Pandey has said it. And it is primarily because these optics, so that has perturbed Trump, and I would say, the paranoia is visible in his statement as well as his team. And second, of course, I think is the coming together is also sort of like signaling to the West as well as America, so that if you don't fall in place, then perhaps we would be coming together, and it won't be good for America and its allies, especially the European Union. And third, as far as the world order is concerned, I think it has already been changing. We have been talking about the power shift taking place from Atlantic to the Pacific, and Trump himself, he was the architect of Indo-Pacific, but now himself is not coming to the core, so that is American problem, not the problem of other partners. Give you one example as far as the balance, how it is shifting. You see, in 1947, when America led the New World Order, European Union's GDP, it was 4 times that of China, and the United Kingdom's GDP was 4 times that of India. And today, comes to 2025, European Union's GDP is slightly less than that of China. It is at par. And India has superseded United Kingdom's GDP. So it shows itself that new winds are blowing, and it is also because of this. Even though China may,
can we do it without America? Can we really do it without America?
No, I'm coming to that. Even if China is ratcheting that, we still adhere to the United Nations Charter. But the creation of AIIB organization bank, it itself is an indicator that the new institution of global governance, so they are in making. And if America doesn't support or come along, so then so they would be left alone. Not only the United States, but also the European Union. Those who are resisting, this kind of change in world geopolitics as well as geoeconomics. But having said that, I think at this point in time, it would be extremely difficult to play down the role of United States. It still remains the largest economy in the world. It's the largest military power in the world. And for India also, I think our strategic ties with United States, they are extremely important. It is the market for Indian exports. We have trade surplus there. I don't think we have the kind of markets we have in United States, the parallel in China or Russia, even though our ties are warming up. But then we remains essentially a market, for Chinese goods. That could be, to some extent, I think the gap could be bridged if investment takes place in India, Chinese investment, Russian investment, and America, by the way, the largest investor in India. The FDI, mostly it comes from that country. And from China, we are having less than maybe around 4 to 5 billion US dollar of investment. But of course, much of it was disturbed by the Galvan and so on and so forth.
Let me also bring in Mithali Nikore, who's wanting to make a point there. Mithali, as we see India, Russia, China coming together, there's already a lot of business we do in terms of defense, oil, defense purchases, and oil extensively from Russia. We get it at a good price. They've been our good neighbors, good friend with India for decades. So India has maintained that irrespective of US pressure. So work on that front is, or rather trade with Russia has been good, but trade with China hasn't been so substantial. We've been in a deficit rather than a surplus, more importing from China, less exporting. So when someone looks at an image that we see on our screens here today, Russia, India, China coming together on one platform, could this be new world order? Give us a sense of where we're looking at, how we're looking at, what kind of business flow are we looking at, what kind of cooperation we're looking at within countries, within these South Asian countries.
No, absolutely, Nabila. Thanks for bringing me into the conversation. I think it's very evident that we're seeing the formations, the inception of a new world order. But of course, a lot will depend on the trust building that starts at this SCO summit and how that trust building goes forward in the next 20 years or 25 years. It took India and the US almost 25 years to build the relationship that they had, and it took only 25 minutes or rather 25 tweets and posts by President Trump on Truth Social to, completely, that relationship to go completely kaput. So, in the next 20 to 25 years, can India work with China? Can India work with other partners of the SCO to really build this new world order? It's a long-term exercise. The only relationship which really has stood the test of time is the India-Russia relationship, because Russia has always been, as China has said that they are an ironclad friend of Pakistan, in the same way Russia has said that they are an ironclad friend of India. So these groupings coming together today should definitely be taken as a sign of positivity, should be taken as a sign of the global South countries standing up for themselves and saying, we are not going to take, another round of colonization, another round of economic, bullying by the West. But at the same time, these countries also have a lot to work out between themselves.
From what we see, Trump again has put out that message, in the latest message, if you can show what Trump has said, saying it's India squarely responsible for these tariffs. It's a one-sided disaster, basically saying this disaster happened because India has imposed high tariffs on United States goods, and now India cutting back on it is too little too late. How accurate is this claim?
No, absolutely. I mean, this claim it makes absolutely no sense in any country or any world where we speak with data and evidence, right? Because of course, all of the data and evidence which the government of India has presented multiple times in front of multiple audiences show that the Russian oil purchases were in fact made post a discussion with the US, where India was encouraged to purchase Russian oil in global markets in a way to keep oil prices more stable. So it has already been established and evidence and data has been presented to that effect. Secondly, when we look at the Indo-US trade relationship, it stands at nearly $85 billion of goods which are being traded between the two countries, and even more if we add, the imports that are coming from the US. So therefore, it cannot be said that, this is not a very important trading relationship. And plus, if we start looking at services, if we start looking at the number of workers from India that are going to the US, I mean, the entire Silicon Valley is powered by Indian brains. So, to say that, India is not, is a dead economy or a country that's not so relevant to the functioning of the US in that sense is not a statement that's born with data and evidence at all.
No, my only question here is a new world order. Is it possible? The SCO leaders, Putin and Xi particularly, batting for an SCO bank, a development bank and a payment system way beyond US dollar, basically to kill the influence of US dollar. They want to start an SEO bank itself. How realistic is this to de-dollarize trade? Do you think it's really possible?
So I don't think that it is widely possible to de-dollarize trade. But at the same time, the fact that President Trump has felt the need to constantly talk about how BRICS countries are trying to de-dollarize trade automatically shows that he's creating, a solution to a problem that never existed in the first place. Because the trade that was taking place, which was not in the dollar, was only limited to, say, the oil trade between Russia and India, or was only limited to some of the trade that was happening between China and Russia on a bilateral basis. But there was no multilateral trade which involved multiple countries that was actually happening in other currencies. And of course, it's going to take a lot of institution building, trust building, for something like an SCO bank to become the reality. I mean, even for the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, for them to, open an office in India, it took almost 5 to 7 years and a lot of institution building. So these moves are, medium-term moves. But at the same time, for today, what becomes evident is that these countries are willing to put their time, effort, and investments together to make those institutions a reality. And that's something that, in a way, has been motivated by the external environment that the West is creating.
Okay. Well, it's very interesting to see that Trump, we thought that he we were expecting him to say something, and he finally did. He put out this message saying, it's India's doing, almost frustrated. In fact, we are going to extensively speak about Peter Navarro's take on Brahmins profiteering from purchasing oil from Russia. That comment itself is absolutely distasteful. I will be going into that talk, but a quick word, Sir Sanjay, your take on the three leaders and a new global order, a new world order. I only see that Donald Trump was not in the mix this time, and he must be feeling so sour. And if EU can come together, that's what I hear many of the analysts say, that if EU can come together, why can't Southeast Asian countries come together and be a solid unit? How far long do you think this could become a reality? How long?
Well, a new world order definitely and surely will come about. But what would be the contours and parameters of this new world order is still too early to say. As Professor Deepak very rightly said, United States is still indispensable. Don't forget that the size of its GDP economy is $30 trillion. Chinese are around 18, 19. India is still only $4 trillion, and the Russians are slightly over $2 trillion. So even these three countries taken together fall short of US. And then de-dollarization might seem very attractive, but as Mitali again pointed out very rightly, we have discovered in our trade with Russia, the Chinese have discovered in their trade with Russia that there is still no clear alternative to the dollar, howsoever we may try. I'm just trying to point out that US remains an important partner. The Chinese as a trading partner for the Russians, because they have a big role in what happens in the Ukraine war, and for us because we enjoy a clear trade surplus with US, while with China we have a nearly $100 billion minus. So, of course, despite this $100 billion or $99 billion surplus going against us, negative trade balance, we still do not use the type of words that Trump uses for India.
Absolutely. India has been absolutely civil, diplomatic, the way a diplomatic country should behave. That's how India has behaved. A final word from you, Mr. Deepak, on India being part of both blocks, the Western trade groups as well as the SCO. In a way, we're part of Quad, we're part of BRICS, we're part of SCO. We have the autonomy, and therefore we are everywhere. But does this benefit us?
Yeah, obviously, I think that is the best part of the strategic autonomy we have been maintaining, ever since of independence. Of course, there is no absolute strategic autonomy. I would also reiterate that, and it is absolutely national interest, I would say. So that matters for any country, whether it is United States or China or Russia. And the realignment or recalibration which we see happening at this point in time, it exactly testifies that. And as far as world order is concerned, I was talking in the terms of like future, not now. So it is taking shape. The narrative has started. So that's what and these upticks and these signals from SCO or BRICS or any other firms. So that indicates that, for example, by 2050, if you see the European GDP and the Chinese GDP would be 4 times more than the European GDP. So it indicates that naturally, the order by that time it will be very, very different. Of course, it is taking shape, but then the narrative, it has already started in, and perhaps the Chinese, they are starting to dominate, the world stage at that point in time. They have already started to offer a new narrative, so-called building community of shared future. And I think that's
established with this meet. SCO, that was little known, seems to have really grabbed global headlines. So now SCO as a meet, as a summit itself, has gained a lot of significance with Prime Minister Modi's presence there, and Putin, of course. So the three leaders, Modi, Putin and Xi, India, China, Russia, on that one platform has certainly sent jitters, and we've understood that with the headlines we've seen all over the globe. Thanks very much, the two of you. I'm very short on time, but appreciate you joining us. We will slip into a short break. Be right back.
The power of Digi-Alkaline from Nippo Thor.
ये बेस्ट है मैम।
पर पहले वाला क्यों नहीं?
अजय भाई, this one's for you. नया बिरला ओपस पेंट्स देने के लिए।
ऐसा क्या है इसमें?
एडवांस क्वालिटी और बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस एक्स्ट्रा।
एक्स्ट्रा?
1 साल में पेंट को कुछ भी हुआ तो पेंटिंग वापस करके देंगे।
वापस करके देंगे? वापस करके देंगे? वापस करके देंगे?
वो भी फ्री।
फ्री? पटेल भाई,
यस मैम।
you're a rock star.
क्वालिटी पेंट का कॉन्फिडेंस, इसलिए बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस। 1 साल में पेंट को कुछ भी हुआ तो पेंटिंग वापस करके देंगे। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर।
तुझको जो मैं हो जाऊं
Love makes you go the distance. Unlimited love. The B6 Pack 2 starts at 21.9 lakh.
Light, camera, and action. Kick back, relax, grab your favorite snack because News 9 is here with your weekend dose of entertainment. It's time to take a deeper dive into the buzzworthy happenings of the entertainment world. From celebrity gossips to exclusive conversations, from nostalgic moments to News 9's pick of the week, don't worry, we've got you covered here. And I hope you've grabbed your popcorn by now because News 9's page 3 is here to serve you everything that we call entertainment. So do stay tuned every Saturday and Sunday, 2:30 p.m.
Welcome back. Let me cut across straight to what Donald Trump's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, has said has really sparked a lot of outrage in India. Navarro's latest outburst has sparked outrage in how, speaking to Fox News in the United States, Donald Trump's senior counselor, Peter Navarro, says, and I'm quoting exactly what he says, India is the Maharaja of tariffs. Modi is a great leader. I don't understand why he's getting into bed with Putin and Xi Jinping when India is the biggest democracy in the world. I would simply say to Indian people to understand what is going on here. You have got Brahmins profiteering at the expense of the Indian people, and we want to stop that. Peter Navarro there saying this to an American channel, referring to India buying oil from Russia as Brahmins profiteering at the expense of Indian people. That one line, Brahmins profiteering, was enough to light up social media and across. Many calling this comment as absolutely racist, casteist, orientalist. Yet some Indian voices tried to defend Navarro. We saw TMC MP Sagarika Ghosh, who argued that this remark was being overinterpreted because there's a term called Boston Brahmins that is colloquially used, referring to the elitists or the elites in the United States, and one should not take it too seriously in India. TMC's Saket Gokhale also saying the same, suggesting that this should not be taken literally. But Peter Navarro framing this word doesn't seem very innocent to us. The word Brahmin Navarro dropped is fully loaded and it's quite obvious. In India, Brahmins sit on top of the caste pyramid, but they are not traditionally the business class. In fact, the Boston Brahmins that Navarro may have had in mind while speaking were actually an elite Protestant circle, a group that was established in the 19th century America, who were rich, insular, descended from colonizers. In fact, they were proud of their lineage. They did not get married to other groups. They were very, focused around their own community and had deep resistance towards immigrants. So the term was coined at that point, Boston Brahmins, by Oliver Wendell Holmes in 1861, likening them to hereditary caste. May have had some relation to Brahmin as a word used in India, which is a higher caste. So when Navarro borrows that term to describe India's trade or its people, it's anything but accidental, and that's quite obvious. The comparison drips with stereotype in history, turning what looks like an economic argument into nothing short of a racial slur. Let me quickly cut across to our panelists joining us for a little more on what Peter Navarro said and if India should be taking this absolutely seriously. We have Tehseen Poonawala joining us, who's a political analyst. Thank you, Tehseen. We also have Professor Sangeet Kumar Ragi, author and political analyst, joining us. We also have Pramit Chaudhary, who's a head South Asia, Eurasia Group. I appreciate all of you taking time out. So let me start with Pramit Pal. As you see here, Pramit, we're looking at Donald Trump's trade advisor saying Brahmins profiteering from buying Russian oil, basically at the cost of Indian citizens. This is all for Brahmins to profiteer. Now, for all those who say and claim that this was Peter Navarro only suggesting what a name or a term that is coined in the United States back in 1800s, could that really be a justification? I don't know if it was so innocent. What's your view?
It's hard to tell. Navarro is not particularly knowledgeable about India. If you read almost all of his commentary over the past, in fact, several years, he's an economist who has some very bizarre theories about how the world economy runs. But Trump likes him because he's been the strongest advocate for tariffs. In addition, Navarro is unusual in the Trump team in the fact that he puts China, almost everybody in the Trump team puts China as their primary trading problem or rival. Navarro is the only one who argues India and China are basically on the same page, that they are effectively both rivals to the United States. So Navarro has been leading the public attack on India and Russian oil, even though we know that when we were negotiating with the Americans on the trade front, their negotiators almost never raised Russian oil. So it's very clearly a pressure tactic. The Brahmin statement is a bit strange and probably reflects the fact that when he was in high school, like a lot of people in the West, he probably read about the original Varna system that existed about 3,000 years ago, and therefore sees it basically as some sort of a class statement. I don't take it too seriously in the fact that Navarro himself is not taken overly seriously in the West. But we do have a problem with the Trump administration in the fact that it is quite schizophrenic in its views on India. So if you see, you have Navarro's statement, you have, in fact, the U.S. Embassy and the U.S. Secretary of State Rubio tweeting today about the importance of the Indo-U.S. relationship and taking it to new heights. And then you have Trump tweeting, as he has before, about India having excessively high tariffs and trying to hold out America, even while we have an SCO summit where Modi has very publicly shared a podium with Xi and Putin, but for which the Americans have not responded at all. So you can see a government that is clearly deeply divided, I would argue, as to what exactly their India policy is. But Navarro is basically seen as, if you wish, the barking dog of the prime minister, of the president. So we assume his broad point of view, which is to try to smear India.
I'm not sure, Pramit, it's so broad, because he said very clearly in his talk with Fox that this is for Indians to understand. If you want me to make you understand, what it means is Brahmins trying to profit off by buying Russian oil at the cost of Indian citizens. So he used a term which is very familiar to India, was deliberate, wasn't it? I refuse to believe that this was innocent. Though, Tehseen, if you can come in on this, we saw several liberals, people from the opposition largely, politicians who jumped in saying, oh my God, this is, the illiteracy that spread on social media is just shocking. Can't believe that people don't even know. Peter Navarro may be referring to Boston Brahmins. That's a term, that's a legit term, referring to elites in the United States, particularly Boston, has nothing to do with India. In a way, suggesting it has nothing to do with India. Very hard to believe. What's your view?
So so let me first clarify. I'm on the opposition side, right? I'm a face of the opposition, not on the government side. I don't really like our present government. However, For those who you so-called term liberals are thinking that Peter Navarro is some sort of a genius, some sort of a well-studied man, please pass on whatever you are smoking or consuming. I would love, though I don't smoke, I would love to try that out. Question number one. Peter Navarro made up a fake economist name. A fake name. I'm not making this up. Even if you're smoking something, you can't make this up. He made up a fake name and he credited his so-called economic theories, which were rooted in kindergarten economics, to this economist who he said was a global economist, and that turned out to be fake. It was just his name spelled backward. That's Peter Navarro. If you just analyze the 10 tweets he made a few days prior to this particular tweet he's made, talking about India and India buying Russian oil and Russian arms, I'm not getting into too much details. Just the math of it doesn't add up. India's oil consumption / India's oil export, if you take the barometer of 2018-19 onwards till now, hasn't significantly gone up. In fact, India's oil imports has gone up by about 6.5%, which is roughly about India's GDP. So he's lying there. Number two, India's arm imports from Russia has on the contrary gone down. It used to at one point be in the late 70%. We used to get 70% of our arms, 80% almost from Russia, is today in the mid 30s, with the second position going to France, third to Israel, and fourth to US, and US increasing. Can you tell me, apart from the S-400, can you tell me another deal with Russia that we've done? So Peter Navarro just lies. Facts may be damned. So don't people like me in the opposition, please don't believe him and allow him to belittle India. What is his problem? He tried to bully China. China bite a bit back because China controls the rare earth minerals. He believes in some theory that if he can control India, somehow Putin will be forced to end a war with India, with Ukraine, and the route to that goes to Delhi. He believes that, and he said that publicly. Except there is one more factual data. Of the oil that we import, we refine and we sell, we're selling the highest diesel to Ukraine. So this guy is totally cuckoo. Like I said, please don't fall for his charade. He talks nothing. Please don't believe him. At this point, we need to deal with US. As I heard your previous speaker saying, the US is an important partner. We need to deal with US. We need to deal with China. We need to deal with Russia, and we will deal with it on our sovereign terms. There is no need to in belittling our government, and no need to try and rise up Peter Navarro to try and belittle our government. Again, I am anti-government. I don't like this government. But let's have common sense. Let's attack the government on common sense, not on uncommon sense.
Okay, well, so even you agree very clearly that this is Navarro's intentional bid to create commotion in India. The word Brahmin was specifically used to equate that to Brahmins in India who shown to be higher up in the caste hierarchy. If I could bring in Professor Sangeet Kumar Ragi to give us a sense. I'm sure you feel the same, sir. And how does it feel to hear something like that from a man in the United States saying that Brahmins are profiteering off you?
Sangeetji is a Brahmin.
No, that's what. There's already enough animosity and a lot of. That's a trigger point.
He's a Brahmin.
Professor Sangeet, it's a trigger point. In Bihar itself, you have enough. You know, the opposition goes to town saying that the Brahmins, BJP cultivates only Brahmins, and the upper class, the top class, and the rest of them are ignored. They're always known to be seen as parties who side with the lower caste, the OBCs, the scheduled castes, and the minorities and whatnot, while the BJP is for the Brahmins. That's the image the opposition has created, right, of the BJP. And when Peter Navarro says something like this, how does it strike a chord, touch a nerve? What nerve has it hurt?
Tahseen informed me that I am a Brahmin. I don't deny it. But anyhow, I see the whole discourse a little bit differently. I think that it is the height of frustration on part of the US administration, which has failed to, push India into a situation where it could do what United States of America wanted to do. So the frustration is emanating because India is not doing what the US wanted to. And therefore, they are sifting the regions that why they have imposed tariffs on India 50% or something like that. First, they said that India is a Maharaja. They are not allowing our goods to be, exported to India. Then they said that Why we have imposed the tariffs? Because India is, in a way, indirectly financing Russia into war with Ukraine. The third thing now has come out that India is moving towards China and Russia. When do you do this kind of shifting narratives? When you don't find any clear way out. Otherwise, United States would have been very consistent right from the beginning.
I understand this is just speaking out of a point of frustration, but I just want you to give me a sense of what you think of the term Brahmin.
Second point.
The term Brahmin used.
The second point. USA is intensely trying to interfere into the domestic politics of this country. I'm very serious about it. Using this kind of word Brahmin is not something which you can say that brush off that it is non-intentional. It is very much intentional. Rahul Gandhi is moving and how the caste conflicts are, right now being flagged off in different parts of the country from Maharashtra to Bihar and other parts of the country. So Brahmin, non-Brahmins, divide or upper caste and the backwards and the lower caste, this kind of conflicts have always been a very popular narrative which has been created into India by the Orientalists in the West to score points in India and to serve their, colonial interest. I think that Peter Navarro is trying to interfere into the domestic politics.
Okay, that's interesting. Tehseen, you have in trying to interfere into politics of India? That's a deliberate bit.
Third thing, I am apprehensive. I'm apprehensive because the way the Prime Minister of India has taken a stand against Trump administration and United States of America. They can go to any extent of dislodging even the Indian government. I'm not surprised that they would like to create a kind of situation like Bangladesh, using their, agencies and assets in the country. So,
We hear you. US is capable of anything. Tehseen?
I'm not saying whether they will succeed or not.
Yeah.
But we have seen that at least 76 government all over the world, the CAI had, given such kind of operations moving into the domestic.
I get you. Tehseen, just a quick word on Brahmin. If at all Boston Brahmin is an actual term, is it derived from the Indian caste hierarchy?
Oh, I don't know how Boston Brahmin came into being because the worthy member of parliament who spoke about it, I don't match up to her intellectual prowess. So I will tend, and her colleague in parliament who spoke about it, has been asked some questions on how he's been involved with some money business. I don't match up to their intellectual prowesses, but I have two very quick points to make before I answer your Sangeet Ragi, Professor.
I have barely 1 minute. I want to take Pramit also.
Just 10 seconds. In the trade with US, actually in the service trade, US has a surplus. So they've actually bifurcated that. So they're not being very fair to us. But I don't agree with what Professor Sangeet Ragi says, because India is not a Bangladesh or a Sri Lanka. India is a functioning democracy. We are not a perfect democracy. Democracy is always work in progress. I don't think the President Trump wants to destabilize the Indian government. I just think he wants to pressurize the Indian government. I don't think it's possible to do it. They couldn't do it with Indira Raji at that time. How are you going to do it now? It's not possible. But I'll leave it to the good professors.
Yeah. All right. Pramit, I apologize. No time for debate. I have Pramit's last word on this. Pramit, this is really become bitter. If it's true that America is now trying to instigate its own population, trying to get in electorally by using the word Brahmin, which I feel may have been done deliberately. I'm not too sure how far they must have thought of politics, but at least instigating the Indian audience was certainly the aim. He's achieved that.
No, possibly, but I doubt Navarro had any such. I think you're giving Navarro more credit and knowledge about what he's doing than he actually is, because he's not really taken seriously in American academics.
Okay.
And is only known for his loyalty to Trump. But I would agree with the previous speaker. This is really about a pressure tactic. If you see Trump, that's exactly what he has done with other countries, which is when he cannot get a trade deal, which in this case is really about farm goods. He has applied pressure, which is largely a combination of high tariffs and crude language, and that's what he does.
Okay.
So I expect by October, November, we'll start to see the two countries begin trade negotiations all over again. But
Great.
both sides will have effectively hardened their positions, if you wish.
I really appreciate Amit, Sangeeta, for this. All right, let me cut across quickly to all our top stories on day tonight. First up, renowned Bangladeshi Hind, in a letter addressed to the state's Urdu Academy, strongly objected to the academy inviting Javed Akhtar as a chief guest for a literary event, Urdu in Hindi cinema, that was to take place on September 1st in Kolkata. The Islamist organization labeled Akhtar itself as someone who spoke against religion and God, and therefore he should not be entertained in Kolkata. Bangladeshi writer also Taslima Nasreen, who was banned earlier for her views on the religion. In fact, she has slammed this move, saying that the state government is emboldening Islamic hardliners in the state of West Bengal, just like the previous CPM regime did, forcing her finally to flee the state of West Bengal. Following suit is another Islamic charitable organization in Kolkata, the Wahyahin Foundation, who has stepped into this row, echoing similar sentiments of Jamaat's stance, saying we don't want Javed Akhtar performing in Kolkata. He's spoken against Allah, he's spoken against Muslims, regressively influencing young minds. So these Muslim hardliners in West Bengal pushing for the government to ban Javed Akhtar, and it seems like West Bengal government, Mamata Banerjee, has succumbed to it.
इस शख्स के आने से मुसलमानों में बहुत बेचैनी पाई जा रही है, क्योंकि इसने इस्लाम के खिलाफ, मुसलमानों के खिलाफ और ख़ास तौर से अल्लाह के खिलाफ बहुत बकवास बकी है, और ये इंसान नहीं, इंसान नुमा एक शैतान है।
अल्लाह की शान में गुस्ताखाना अल्फाज कलिमात कहना, और एक बार दो बार नहीं, एक तो होता है कभी जो है सफते लिसानी हो जाती है, जबान फिसल गई, बोल दिया, मुसलसल बोले जा रहे हैं, आमदन बोले जा रहे हैं। तो ऐसे शख्स के प्रोग्राम में जो खुदा का बागी है, ऐसे शख्स के प्रोग्राम में किसी मोमिन और किसी मुसलमान की शिरकत ये कैसे हो सकता है? एक तो ये कि अल्लाह का मजाक उड़ाना, नबी का मजाक उड़ाना, वो तो एक उस पर कुफ्र लाजिम आता है, और ऊपर अगर कोई सुन्नत का मजाक उड़ा दे, उनके एक तरीके का, उनकी किसी बात का अगर मजाक उड़ा दे, तो उस पर जो है वो आदमी काफिर हो जाता है।
Well, Javed Akhtar has publicly identified himself as atheist, but what's really questionable here is Kolkata. We're looking at West Bengal, Kolkata being the land of thought, philosophy, art, culture and whatnot. In a place like that, where you have the best of minds who have given birth to the best of pieces, here you have Javed Akhtar, who's possibly the best in Urdu, being banned from coming in to actually be part of that show. Whatever happened to West Bengal, which really once resisted this kind of extremism, now falling victim and buckling to that pressure. Highly disappointing for Mamata Banerjee herself, who has often batted for freedom of speech, freedom of thought and whatnot. When it comes to her state, it seems like she hasn't lived up to that bargain. A quick look at BJP leaders in Karnataka organizing the Dharmasthala Chalo campaign, a rally rather, which was inaugurated by Union Minister Prahlad Joshi at the temple town in Mangaluru. The rally was held to condemn the alleged conspiracy and smear campaign against the Dharmasthala temple, where one man came out to say that he, at the behest of the Dharmasthala authorities, buried hundreds of bodies around the Dharmasthala temple, of particularly women who were raped and murdered. Now, former Chief Minister Sadananda Gowda of the BJP, leader of the opposition R. Ashoka, B.Y. Vijendra, BJP President of the state, all of them coming together in the Dharmasthala Chalo Yatra. MPs there holding those banners and walking in the rain. The BJP accused the Congress party of trying to instigate this campaign against Dharmasthala, saying that this was a deliberate bid by the Congress party to tarnish the image of Dharmasthala. State BJP Chief B.Y. Vijendra also urging the centre to hand over the case to the CBI now or the NIA, as he accused the Congress government of failing to deliver justice to the Hindu community. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, though, calling the BJP's Dharmasthala Chalo rally only politics, saying that the party will not get any political benefit out of doing this. Well, we're looking at a special investigation team, meanwhile, looking into the matter, is expected to file a detailed progress report before the court next week. And hopefully there should be something to come out. We know that multiple sites were dug up, out of which only 2 sites they found some bone fragments. How far will that actually corroborate the complainant's version? We've got to wait and watch.
in Dharmasthal also, the motto was to reduce the Shraddha of the public at large and make a divide, make a division in the Hindu society and politically make use of it.
All right, cutting across to Kerala, a storm that's brewing in Kochi, inside the banks, in fact, particular bank branch in Kochi. What began as a protest against workplace harassment has now exploded into fiery showdown over food culture and freedom in Kerala, freedom of choice. Employees of a Canara Bank branch in Kochi staged a unique protest after their new regional manager allegedly banned beef in the canteen, the office canteen. They are not allowed to eat beef in the canteen. And remember, Kerala beef is very common across faiths. So the employees, their response was to actually have and organize a beef eating festival. Beef and parota is the most popular dish in Kerala, and that's what they did right outside the bank branch. They had this festival where beef and parota were served to all of them, Kerala style. The manager transferred from Bihar. She was North Indian who was transferred there to Kochi, named by the professors. In fact, I would not want to name her, but from what we see here, that manager accused of harassment, she's now pushing back. She says that this is against Hindu faith, and many are calling this, as we see here, many of them are calling this itself Sangh Parivar agenda. Basically, a North Indian at that bank branch, not allowing for them to eat beef inside. Many of them saying that this is Sangh Parivar agenda that they are bringing into Kerala and imposing on their culture. CPIM legislator KT Jalil minced no words, saying no officer has the right to dictate what people should eat or wear, warning that fascist ideas will find no takers in Kerala. Another leader of the party, Kerala Minister MB Rajesh, also saying that beef is a food habit of Keralites and cannot be banned. Remember, beef in Kerala, not a religious flashpoint. In fact, it's so common. It's part of their daily cuisine for all, Hindus, Muslims, Christians alike. Sales itself shows that it's the state's most favored meat. And when the centre tried a ban in 2017, Kerala hit back with beef festivals across campuses. So what began as a protest against harassment has now become a larger fight over constitutional right, personal freedom, and a clear warning that no manager, no politician, no one can decide what people eat. All right, on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of the Bulletin. Thanks very much for watching.
The power of Digi-Alkaline from Nippo Thor.
Go condoms?
It's over there.
क्या ये different sizes में आता है?
Actually, sir, size matter नहीं करता.
तो फिर क्या matter करता है?
The hardness
of the condom.
of what's inside.
For the first time ever, presenting Hard Rock Gel.
अब free हर score condoms के 10 pack के साथ.
This is nothing. My score has 5 stars. तेरे को पता है मेरी स्कोर ना ऑटोमेटिक है और वो भी 7 स्पीड. कुछ भी. Hello guys. My Skoda can fly to Jupiter like a rocket.
Skoda. What is to the nines? In literal terms, it's perfection. But to us, it's not just a phrase, it's an attitude. One that starts at your desk and sends a statement to the world. To the nines is about taking charge. It's a way of life where every seam, every fold, is crafted with excellence. It's timeless elegance and uncompromising quality made for the corner office. It's the ideas that inspire redefining order and elevating the tabletop. To the nines, for the leaders of today and the visionaries of tomorrow.
Light, camera, and action. Kick back, relax, grab your favorite snack because